veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
Woo, I'm digging that song right now. Yeah, I won't stop till. Yeah, okay. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back. This is actually Aubrey, and I've got JRXTV with me today, and we're here talking about Ready to Love, Season 9, Episode 11, Family Ties. Woo, what are your thoughts about this situation, this episode?
Oh, well, this episode was, man, it was filled with a lot of things that took place that we definitely got to talk about, especially with Laron and Maya's situation. That completely took up a lot of time and space, and rightly so, because that off-camera dating situation hardly ever goes well in a club setting. We've seen it on previous seasons,
Yep.
and it reared its ugly head again. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's why, like we said, these people should watch the seasons prior to realize what they're getting into, because it never pans out well. But Laron, we're gonna have some words. You're gonna have to come to the front of the congregation. And as for the family dates, man, we definitely identified some really telling signs about how some people feel about each other during the family dates. So yeah,
Right.
very good
Yeah.
episode, interesting episode. What did you think?
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? I'm just glad I went to church today. And yeah, let me get back to that. Sissy says Happy Palm Sunday. I'm sorry, guys. I do a earlier podcast with Married at First Sight, and I said Happy Palm Sunday, but I'll say it again to all my Christians, all my fellow believers out there across the world. Happy Palm Sunday, and this starts the beginning of Holy Week. So I'm gonna try to tread as lightly as I possibly can, but I'll just be honest. Those of you that know a little bit about my story as a survivor and thriver from domestic violence, this episode made me very angry this week. Right, I take it kind of personally, and it just saddens me that to see this behavior from one of the castmates. We'll get into that in in a few minutes, but other than that, I thought it was a good episode. We watched the family meet, these connections, and I thought the family did a good job. Particularly, I like Mika's dad. What did you think about Mika's dad?
Yeah, Mika's dad came across as a cool guy, man, but serious about his
Mm-hmm.
daughter, and
Yep.
he seems like he definitely knows what he's talking about, and maybe from experience, and also someone who cares about who his daughter's going to be choosing in this process. So I like the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he was firm, he was stern, but at the same time, it wasn't serious to the point where he was intimidating, you know. And
Right.
Justin seemed to be able to be himself and navigate the interaction quite well. And in Justin's confessional, he was even saying that the father's, being serious, and that kind of gives the
Mm-hmm.
impression that it's a very big deal. And I think Mika introducing anyone to her as well. So that
Yeah.
shows how, yeah, good. I thought
Yeah.
that the father did a good job, and
Hmm.
Justin did a good job too for the
Yeah,
situation.
I did. I did think that Justin did a good job, and who knows, maybe they might end up going fishing one day. Yep. So we'll go
Yeah.
ahead and get started. Just real briefly, because I'm always talking about it. It is 36 degrees here in Detroit, Michigan. What's the weather like over there across the pond, JR?
So over here, it's been a very turbulent day. Starts off cold and grey, uh, then picks up a little bit in the afternoon, a lot of rain and stuff. But I would probably say we're around 16 degrees, which is about 60 in
Oh,
your
okay.
money.
Thank you for doing the math because I don't have my calculator and I'm too stressed out about LaRon right now to even try to. I'm telling you, I just got to calm down. I just got to calm down. Take a deep breath. Ooh, woosah,
Mm-hmm.
woosah.
1 to 10.
Yeah, that's what my dad always taught me, count to 10, right? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I got to give some grace to Ron. And it's so funny because, sometimes you feel like you know these castmates, even though you really don't. And I'm saying it from a content creator's perspective, having chatted a little bit with Laron, right, in social media. And then
Yeah.
there are these various people that who live in Dallas who are giving you inside information about this cast. So I
Mm-hmm.
felt kind of like an auntie to LaRon, and then he goes and disappoints me. It's just, I don't know. It's disappointing.
Right.
Sissy
But
says I'm gonna
you
try
know,
to be holy too. Go ahead.
we did see some of
Hmm.
Laron's temperament on display with the Koshia thing, right? Now, with that mindset being on show so early, um, it's definitely not a one-off. And
Mm-mm.
I think when he came on Kojo's interview, I think he was trying to get ahead of the devil type of thing, trying to get ahead of the
Exactly.
narrative.
I knew it was something to it why he kept doing these interviews before we got to this episode, before we even got to the end of the season.
Exactly.
I knew it was something.
It's very telling because it's usually once they've been eliminated, that's when they come on. But he's still actively on the show.
Right.
And then,
And why was he out doing all these interviews, trying to get ahead, as David would say from the Houston season, trying to get ahead of the devil.
exactly. So I think even deeper than that, not only did we see the prior interaction with Koshia, but we've also
Hmm.
seen that he orchestrated her dismissal pretty much by being
Exactly.
much more active and involved in the group chats that he kept going on about. It was actually him that threw her under the bus because he had more loyalty and allegiance to her, being that that was one of his connections, than the other dudes did.
Right.
And if they
Right.
didn't feel like they had a chance of being with her, then rightfully they're going to say, she's not one of my stronger connections. She's going to be down for elimination. But he was actively directing them to get rid of her. And I think that was because he was in his feelings based on how he felt played when she kind of stopped communicating with him and chose to go mingle with the other guys in front of his face. He was like,
Hmm.
you know what, I'm going to get you back. You're not going to play me, you know?
Clearly, and thinking about what happened this week, clearly that's a sore spot for him. A
Mm-hmm.
woman that he has any kind of romantic feeling for, that's a sore spot that she should pay attention, acknowledge, say hello, hug. It's a problem for him. It's a
Mm,
problem.
definitely, which is surprising because he spends most of his time in the club.
Right.
So if you're in the club, you're going to see people that you've seen in other venues or regulars at that club. You obviously share the same interest in nightlife. So when you see each other,
Hmm.
obviously, depending on how well you know them, It's kind of normal. You're either gonna dap someone up, or give them a high five or a hug, or you know
Right.
that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like seeing a family and friends. I mean, basically that's what it is.
exactly. So for him to fly off the handle, um, in that situation, and as I said in the prior situation with Koshio, it's definitely not a one-off. I think you're right. His mindset is, um, these women are bees, and if you play me, then I'm gonna get you, or I'm a flip,
Mm-hmm.
and he doesn't want to be made to look like or feel like a fool. And the problem is when you mix alcohol. I mean, it's already an inebriating substance, but when you mix
Mm-hmm.
alcohol with insecurity, jealousy, and as he said in his own confessional, possessiveness, it's not a good
Mm-hmm.
recipe. It's
Not a
not a
good
good mix. That
recipe.
means you're going to be in some alcohol induced insecurities that will lead to
Yes.
problems in your relationship, no matter who it's with.
Oh, wow. Babs has a good comment here. I really like this. She says, LaRon has always been concerned with his self image and being seen as a simp. Little does he know that he's making himself look like an absolute fool. Amen. Amen, Babs. I'm in full agreement because this whole idea of what's a simp and what makes you look like a simp, here's the thing about it. You're going to be 50, 60 years old in that same club, and you ain't gonna have to
Hmm.
worry about being a simp. You're just gonna be washed up, no wife, no children of your own. You got all this money, you got a great job, you got a great career, but what is all of that to gain and not have a family to leave a legacy behind? What is all of that?
Hmm. Very true. And I would say the only thing I would say, I think he does actually know all of himself, but he kind of reveled in it and kind of laughed it off as if it's not a big deal. And
Mm-hmm.
he can't blame it on the alcohol because he wasn't intoxicated when in with the Koshia situation. Uh, same mentality. So, and I
Yeah.
hate to project, but I think he comes across as someone that enjoys his alcohol, and in
Mm-hmm.
moderation, everything is fine. But
Mm-hmm.
I think if you're out 3, 4 days a week, 5 days a week,
Yeah,
you're
drinking.
sipping and
Drinking all the
sipping,
time.
drinking, yep, drinking and thinking, um, that stays in your system, and that's going to affect your mood and mindset when you do get
Mm-hmm.
into situations. So
And we
I
ain't
think he's very aware of how
mm-hmm.
how much he consumes and how he comes across, but I don't think he
Mm-hmm.
takes it seriously. Mm.
Hmm. I don't know. Okay, I got two comments that are really brought to my attention. The first one is already up there. So tell me what you think about this. So Stay Tuned Reviews says William is somewhere punching the air after watching this past episode because he was
Hmm.
just eliminated because of LaRon, right?
Yep, he was eliminated for two reasons, in my opinion.
Oh,
Definitely,
okay.
LaRon threw him under the bus, but
Okay.
also expressed vulnerability about the situation with his dad, and that was too much
Hmm.
for the ladies, right? When the
Right.
whole
Yeah,
task
that's true.
the next week was to be vulnerable. So I think he is punching the air, because I don't think William would have handled that situation in the same way LaRon did.
No, no, absolutely not. I can't imagine William, uh, a still active duty military man, and all
Hmm.
the self discipline and self control that you're taught in the military. I can't imagine him being at a club having a problem with his a friend of his basically saying hello to an acquaintance or a friend of hers. What's the big deal?
Well, I've just seen a comment from Sissy. Depending on how heavy he drinks, it can affect you. That's exactly what I
Hmm.
said. Everything in moderation is fine,
Right.
but when you're out drinking 3 to 4 times a week, like he does, because he's in the club 3 to 4 times a week. So I doubt he's having days off where he's drinking water. I think he's
Right.
going out there to get a little turned up on the juice,
Right.
right? But if he's doing
Mhm.
that 3 to 4 times a week, then trust me, alcohol still stays in your system.
It does.
And then when you get triggered or you get emotional or offended or whatever, it's not just the emotion you're going to be letting out. You're also going to be under the influence to some degree of the alcohol. So that's why I said that. And
People that are mhm, go
I
ahead,
think
sorry.
also people have started to pick apart Laron's physical, comes across as a little puffy in the face and all these other
Yeah,
different things. Yeah,
I'm
like
seeing
so.
it. I'm looking
Right,
at it.
right. So people are coming to those type of. They're trying to draw dots to, try and get to the bottom of who he really is. And I think, he may not be a villain to a degree where he's, um, really overtly. I think he's very sneaky with it, and I think he's very sensitive, um, and definitely uh, somebody that, from what I've seen, feels like he can fly off the handle and
They'll see it. That's funny.
kind of laugh it off afterwards.
Oh yeah, that's another thing. His whole attitude of not really caring that he called this lady out of her name and the language that he used. Um, it's like, this is the norm, and that's a whole nother conversation that we'll get to a little in a minute about culture, community that you grow up in, and the space that you grow up in, and
Hmm.
then as you elevate and you get to this place of you're educated, you're making great money, you have extra money to blow and spend on more drinking and more boozing and more women or whatever that thing is. Like, do you go back to where you came from mentally, or did you never leave there? That mindset, that hood rat mentality, is that who you are at your core? Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just wondering. And then you say, well, it's a New Jersey thing. It's a Newark, New Jersey
Yeah.
thing. I don't know. You guys, anybody from Newark, New Jersey in the house? Um, Anybody from the New York area? I mean, I know I've talked to a few New York people, and that there is a thing about New Yorkers and New Jersey because it's like, bi-state, tri-state area.
Hmm.
Um, that they tend to be a little more rude, a little more uh, uh brusque in their conversation, more direct, and maybe a little foul mouthed. I don't know, but like, when do you let that go? When do you let all of that trash go? You
Hmm.
you have the money to live in a better place, to live in a high-rise, beautiful apartment, a luxury apartment, but in your mind, are you still in the ghetto?
Right. And and you bring up a valid point, and that's why I think he knows how he is. Like he's self-aware because he said it's a New Jersey thing, right?
Hmm.
So that means, yeah, I know how I am, and this is why. It's because I'm from this place where we all talk like that, right? So there's an admittance there that he
Hmm.
knows that he has a temperament, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I don't think having a bad temper, alcohol, insecurities, jealousy, that's not going to be a recipe for success. I guarantee you, he's going to get into situations where, just like this time with Maya, he blows it. Yeah, he blew this one.
Well,
Um,
people were saying, what do you think about the idea? People were saying that she was out of his league. This whole thing, she was out of his league. Too beautiful, too polished, too poised for him. I thought
yeah,
that she was very feminine. So, like, what he really wants, if this is the way you talk to women and talk about women, then what you really need is a hood rat to meet your energy.
Mm.
So
Well,
apparently, I never thought she was necessarily out of his league, but his behavior is showing me that he thinks she's out of his league because he's insecure about the whole thing.
right. He admitted that she's out of his league in in an interview that he did on another channel, on the Kojo channel. He
Mhm.
said the moment he saw her, it was like, man, she's out
Mhm.
of, she's someone that he wouldn't normally come across, and he felt like
Okay.
he was smitten. He was anxious. He was shy. He didn't know how to speak to her. He didn't have the confidence. He felt kind of like at a lesser position to be able to go and approach her straight off the bat. So he did admit that. And I think also it's quite common for guys that may not necessarily they may not necessarily be an oil painting, be the handsomest guy, but a lot of the
Mhm.
time they do go after the girl that is often out of their league, and they have usually no fear to do that because they're used to handling rejection as well,
Mhm.
because they're not attractive themselves. Um, and I also think um, when you do look at Maya, for example, and how she presents herself physically, there's no doubt she's an attractive lady, so she's going to have
Oh,
tons of admirers.
of
Um,
course. Of
and
course.
not all of them are going to be the caliber of guy that she necessarily is looking for. Um, and she has had the opportunity to mingle with other guys. She made a connection with William,
Mhm.
and but William's personal situation was very different to her personal situation, so they weren't aligned in that respect. Whereas her and Laron's lifestyles, pretty much, that's one of the reasons why I think she gave him a chance. It's not based on the physical. I think it's based on the fact that they have lifestyle compatibility. They like to go out and socialize a lot in
Mhm.
their spare time. But at the same time, in the looks department or the physical department, he may not be exactly what she's attracted to. So I think she just, she's giving her a chance, because that's the process. You have to give people a chance that you wouldn't normally give someone a chance, because what you've been doing prior to coming on the show hasn't worked, which is why you're on the show. So you have to try
Right.
something different. You have to take a different approach.
I'm just looking at all these comments. These guys are doing a great job lighting up the chat. Thank you so much. All the comments are going on. Well, I guess we better get started because today I have to be somewhere. I have an appointment, guys. So we're not going to keep you for a long, long time. 4.5 hours. Go check out last week's video if you haven't already. You'll find out why we were here for 4.5 hours. But that was quite a great video, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Very good breakdown. And yeah, like this this evening, we're here for a good time and not a long time, just like a lot of the cast members.
And one thing before we get started, real good, Jr., do you have your headset on? Because I'm hearing an echo. On
Mm,
your, I think it's
no,
on
I
your
think
side.
I think I've got my mic near the speakers, so let me just move you
Yeah.
away.
Thank
Hmm.
you, dear. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Like the video, guys. Like the video. Like the video. Like the video. So we can move up in the algorithm. I've got great plans for this channel this year, but I can't do it alone. It's an interactive we thing. We provide the commentary. You guys provide the like, the comments on the video, and the encouragement for us to bring on guests from this season's cast. I think we've got a couple of people lined up already to come on and talk to us about the things that we're seeing this week, last week, and all the way
Hmm.
through the reunion. So we'll be announcing those shortly. But I think you will be quite excited to hear what they have to say. And with that said, let's really get started with these notes. So we open up with the Fab Four in the ladies' lounge with Uncle, Nephew, Cousin Tommy. He tells us that this is, of course, Meet the Family Week. The men get to meet the ladies' families. So next scene, we're with Mika. She's introducing Justin to her father, and just her dad. Her dad is like he kind of reminds me a lot of my dad, right? So he's kind of like that, got this tough guy exterior, but yet he's fair. He's willing to hear the guy out. What did you think about this scene between Justin and Mika's dad and Mika?
Yeah, I think Mika's dad understood the assignment, came in with serious intention to find out if Justin is right for his daughter, but at the same time, wasn't too imposing and overbearing to frighten Justin off. So
Mm-hmm.
he got the balance right, did a good job, and Justin handled the questions, um, very calmly, composed. I don't think he
Mm-hmm.
set himself up for any failure or anything, and
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't called out for anything that was inappropriate or um, off script. So yeah, Justin did well. Mika seems to like him, but at the
Mm-hmm.
same time, Mika still has doubts about Justin. Um, in her confessionals, I don't think she's completely sold on how serious he is, and
Mm-hmm.
despite him making a good impression on her father, so I think she may have some things to work on there too. But all in all, this was one of the better Meet the Family dates.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think?
Okay. I think I'm trying to do too many things at one time. My brain is about to overheat because I'm trying to respond in the chat. But and then I realized there's something appointment announcement. So let me start with this first. Let me go back. So I should have said at the beginning of the video that, guys, we need your prayers and your warm wishes and thoughts for one of our panelists and co-host here, Sean Stokes. Sean unfortunately lost a close family member in his family, and we just need to lift him up in prayer and keep him in our thoughts. Because he could not be here today, so that's the reason why. Kiki, to your point about Sean. Um, so yeah. um I'm sorry, back to Justin and the father. I i think the father did a good job, because, like, see, I notice on these shows, um people have gotten away from what a dad's job is, and then unfortunately in our community here in this country, maybe not over there where you are in the UK, but over here in this country, there's a serious shortage of men who are fathers, stepfathers, or father figures, even, right? So, like, even when you notice on the show
Hmm.
Love is Blind, we saw the Love is Blind contestant or castmate, AD, when she goes to the altar to meet her groom. Did you see a dad next to her? Now, her father had passed away, but my question is, okay, so your dad passed away. I get that. My dad passed away when I was just a teenager. But do you mean to tell me in the Black community and in your family, you don't have an uncle, a brother, a godfather to walk you down the aisle?
Hmm.
Like, so we've gotten away from so many things I know that are traditional, and people are saying, well, oh, it's the new age, it's the new generation. But is it any better? Because it's new. It used to be a saying in commercials, new and improved. But to me, it's just like it's just new. And that's it. It's not improved. It's just new. You're doing something different. But the whole purpose of a father figure in these meetings of meeting family, the dad was to vet the man to make sure that he was of the caliber, the quality, and the seriousness to marry his daughter or to be serious with his daughter. And what are your intentions? But everybody wants to get away from that. Oh, he's asking too many questions. But
Mm.
I don't know, in all saying all of this, I think Justin did a good job, but I'm just not getting the strong sense that Justin is there for anything more than a good time.
Yeah,
What do you think? What do you think?
I think Justin wants to take it very slow with Mika, and she does have children and a family that she
That
had
part, baby.
previously that
Hmm.
he has to integrate with. So
Hmm.
he will have to take his time. There is no rushing, despite how
Okay.
if she really wants someone to just plug and play straight away, life doesn't go like that.
Hmm.
Um, And then I think when it comes to the male presence in families and things, I think there are a lot of factors for that, which are quite well known. You know, you have a lot of uh, um, situations where there isn't the father always around. There are problems with legal stuff that some men find themselves in. So they get incarcerated. There's loads of different
Yeah,
things that
there's
can
different
factor into that.
reasons,
So it's a
but
very
I just
traditional thing that
hmm
you're speaking about, where you have a male presence to kind of guide you
hmm
and show you how you should be treated, or vet the guy that you're dating. It's a very old school thing, um,
hmm
and in this modern age, in the era that we're growing up in, um, it's not so prevalent because there aren't so. I assume there aren't so many families that
fathers.
have a male,
Hmm
yeah, a
hmm
father or uncle around to take those
hmm
responsibilities.
hmm but to your point though too, so another thing is being said out here in the chat. I thought this was relevant to our conversation about Justin, and this is why I feel this way. Baby doll hit it right on the head. Justin seems to always reference Mika's body. I haven't heard him say anything about her mind or her personality.
Do you ever?
It's always
That's.
about the caboose. Remember the comment he made about her caboose on the jet ski last week, a couple weeks ago?
Hmm.
And then he was
Yep.
saying that when she fell in the water, that aren't those things flotation devices, meaning her breast, which would have been enough for me to have been done with
Hmm.
him personally, because I don't like no
Oh
man talking underneath my clothes. Don't talk about my body like that. Don't talk about
well,
my body like that. If we're not laying in
is the
bed
problem with
being
it's the
intimate, don't talk about my body outside of that area. Okay?
well. Hold on. They have been
Hmm
in the bed together. They were in the bed together the other day when he was feeling under the weather. They shared a bed, and I don't,
Yeah, but
they
wait
were
a
very
minute.
comfortable. So that has
Oh,
happened.
good catch. That's a good catch,
Um,
but that's not my point, though. That's not my point. He wasn't talking about her body in the bed when they were in the bed. By the way, guys, for those of you who haven't seen the episode yet, they were fully clothed, okay? Now, I don't know what happened after the cameras left. I have some ideas, but because she certainly has changed her demeanor. And, I always say when it don't make sense, there's been something going on outside of this show, right?
Yeah, and let's be real. You can be fully clothed and still pull stuff down or lift stuff up. So
Oh,
to get
my.
access. So, but I'll say this.
At
I'll
my
say,
age, we don't do that. We just take the clothes
oh,
off, okay?
oh well. I would say this. There's a reason why he's not going to be talking about her amazing intellect, conversational skills, and
Mm-mm-mm.
all these other different things. Because unfortunately, that's not what stands out to him as the most attractive quality that she has. In other
Mm-hmm.
words, if everybody's saying the same thing and seeing the same thing, it's because he finds her physically attractive, as in
Right. She's
body
beautiful.
is wow, it has the wow
Mm-hmm.
factor.
It
Um,
does.
but in terms of conversation, being a safe space, all this other stuff that some of the other ladies may have, he's not connected to them. So Mia's strong point for him over, the personality side of things is her physical. And unfortunately, the reality is there are a lot of guys who see the physical and prioritize that over the conversation and all the other different aspects. Women may not like to hear it, but it is very common for guys to just look at a girl, see the body, and be like, damn, she's fine. I need to go and speak to her. Rather than have a conversation first, ignoring your physical, and
Mm-hmm.
then start to analyze your body afterwards. Nope. We're visual creatures. We see the physical first. And in Justin's case,
Mm-hmm.
if he keeps on making comments about how blessed she is in certain areas, that's because that's what he's attracted to more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't
I
mean
just
he's a bad guy. Doesn't mean he
no.
doesn't want a relationship. It just means
What does it
that
mean?
is the thing that stands out to him.
Well, so he said one thing about Justin is saying that he's like 4 or 5 years away from his last relationship. As a guy, does that tell you anything? Does that mean anything to you that it's been 4 or 5 years since he's been in a serious relationship?
No. I mean,
Hmm.
what would you rather have? 4 or 5 days, or 4 or 5 weeks, or 4 or 5 months? Any length of time you could really have
Yeah,
a
no,
problem with. If it's five
I'm
years,
just
you might say, "Oh, that's too long." So what have you been doing in that time? You've been in the
okay.
streets.
I see where you're going with this,
Then,
Jr.
if it
I
was
see. I
five
see
weeks
your
or
logic.
5 days, then you're not even over the person you were with last time. What is the
Uh-huh.
sweet spot then?
What's the sweet spot? I
You know,
guess
what is
I
the
don't know. I
perfect
guess
answer to that?
six months, 6 months, between 6 months and 2 years. Let's say. I don't know. I'm just asking
Exactly.
because
No
here's
one
the thing.
knows.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. Tell me if you think this is true or not. Just a generalized statement, not saying it's true for all men, all women, all couples, all people. Would you say, generally speaking, that there are
Hmm.
more women that are willing to get into a serious relationship than there are men? Would you say that's true?
Depends on what stage and what age and stage
Well, I'm thinking of the
the
ages that
person
we're
is.
looking at with this show. So let's like focusing in on, we're talking about people, let's say from 30 to 47, 48. Single people, not married people, but single people.
Um, I think you could say yes, um, because as we know, like biologically, we're different. So I think once some people, um, usually women, um, once they get past 30, they may have a mindset where they want to get more serious faster with any guy that they're dating. But I do also see it on the men's side as well, where once a guy reaches 30, if he hasn't had kids, marriage, and he's looking for that, then he will also date with intention as well. Naturally,
Mm,
numbers, women outnumber men in a lot of situations, in terms
yes.
of single. So yeah, there will be more women than men.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, anyway, I think to wrap this up, this scene, I think they did a great job. I think Justin did the best job that he could. I think that
Hmm.
Mika, I was proud of her because wasn't she the one? Wasn't Mika the one that didn't have anybody to bring? It was like when they had to meet the exes,
Yep, the
right?
exes.
Yeah.
Nobody, nobody.
I will give her some points with this one because she did bring her father in. She didn't play around. I mean, and I love it that she's a woman that has an active father in her life. So I'm definitely hats off to her on that. That means a lot to me. That means a lot to me, and I think it should mean a lot to her and any woman that has either a father in their life that's active, that's still alive, or a father figure, someone that you can go to get advice, that is not someone, not an ex, not someone that has an ulterior motive to tell you the wrong thing, but someone who genuinely cares about you. I think that's so important. So I like this scene. I thought that, we one thing that we've noticed about Mika in the last 2 weeks, she has really, her personality has warmed up, right? We see her
Definitely.
smiling more.
Well,
She's
it's
warmed up.
definitely warmed up for Justin.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the only one she's talking to right now, anyway. At this point,
That's my point. She closed off all
we're
the
headed
other
to the
avenues.
bridge, Jr. We're headed to the bridge next week. We're headed to the bridge.
Yeah, but she did that from day one. She hasn't connected with nobody except Justin from day one. So I know we're heading to the
True.
bridge now, but she never opened herself up to really get to know the other guys. And when she was in the elimination, when she was in the bottom two in contention for elimination, I think it was Chaz that sat down with her and said, the feedback is you closed yourself off and this, that, the other. And she said, yeah, like I'm not trying to get to know none of these guys. Yeah, it's only Justin that she's really opened up to. And I think that's more to do with the fact that he aligns with not necessarily in dead set on having kids. Plus, she may find him physically attractive to some degree as well. So that's
Mm.
another tick in the box. But yeah,
Well, that
unfortunately,
you bring up a very good point, because as I'm
mm,
thinking about this and trying to think this through, you bring up a very good point, because I don't know which podcast I was on the other day, and I don't even know if it's true, but so rumor has it, allegedly, that Mika has had her tubes tied, right? Because we know that she already has two children, and she says she's not having any more. But he says he wants to have children, and he doesn't have any.
hmm
So
yep,
this doesn't look good for a long-term relationship.
nope, nope, it doesn't. And it's gonna be a lot of expense and probably a lot of discomfort to have those untied if she ever did decide to. It's a pretty permanent decision to do that. And if he's family of his own, which he has said he isn't, when he's talking to someone who doesn't have kids, yeah, I want to have kids. When he's talking to someone who has kids, now I'm not too pressed on whether I have them or not. He's chosen Mika, and so he's fully aware of her stance on children, and he's still riding with it, still going with it.
Hmm.
But I
Okay.
do get your point. In terms of long term, there may be a crossroads coming soon where they have to make a decision whether they're going to have them or not. And if he does want kids,
Mm.
then obviously Mika may not be the person long term for him. And if
Hmm.
he doesn't want kids, then he can come into her life a bit more and get to know her own children and do the family thing.
Hmm.
Not sure how it's going to go, but the
Hmm.
plus point is he does deal with children every day in his line of work. So he probably knows how to endear himself, as an authoritarian or as a parent, stepping into the situation, even though he's not
Hmm.
biological. He'll handle it with maturity, I would assume. Um, but the downside can also be that after dealing with children every day at work, do you really want to come home and deal with someone else's kids in your private life as well?
Mm, well, that is a question that does bear some consideration. But I mean, what is the whole reason? Think about this. What is the whole reason why he got into teaching? I'm thinking probably he enjoys children. So why wouldn't he want? And he's
hmm
told us that he wants children of his own.
Oh, yes, of course. But then in his private life, if he wants his own children, is that more of a priority than taking on
Hmm.
someone else's children and not being able to have his own? So that's
Yeah.
something he's going to have to weigh up at
Yeah.
some point.
Hmm. All right. Alice has got facts. She's telling us, JR, it's you're not exactly correct with the stats. The ratio between men and women, if you look at the census data, and of course that's US as opposed to UK, it's more like one on one. I think it's more of a discrepancy depending on where you are. That's an excellent point, Alice. That's an excellent point. There, depending on which part of the country, which state, even which city you're in within a state, right?
hmm
Um, it could be you got better chances of meeting some single men in one place than another place. I knew a girl that went to a college. Well, I know several girls that went to a college where it was mainly men, and the ratio of men was like 4 to 1 on the women. And of course, it was easy for her to find a nice guy and find a husband and get married and settle down and have her family, as opposed to women now in a lot of colleges. Women are outnumbering men in college right now in this country. So
That's
just
that's
it all depends.
that's exactly my point. If like if we're looking at how it is now, depending on it can depend on where you live, but I think that what we're seeing on these shows is that every season we see a criticism being labeled that where are the good men? Why are they always finding these low quality men? They're not up to the standards of the women on the show. So that clearly shows that there's a discrepancy in the eligible men in those particular areas. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a continual theme every single season, every single different location we go to for this show.
And do you think that Justin, because Alice brings up another great point, that Justin seems to be just saying whatever the woman that he's dating at that time wants to hear, because when he meets the women that have children already, he says, I've accepted that at 35 or 32 or whatever age he is, that I may never have my own children. And then he says to the woman like Maya, oh, you don't have any children? Oh, I would love to have children. So which one is it?
Yeah, and we called that out. We called that out weeks ago. He has been doing that, and then when we look at where his chips have fallen, he's landed himself a connection with Mika, and she's already indicated she doesn't want to have kids. So, despite what he was saying to the other ladies, he's naturally gravitated towards Mika more. And like I said, they've now spent time together. They had a snooze, like a little snuggle under the sheets last week,
Mm-hmm.
and nothing more. It's at least further than he's gotten with any of the other ladies. So that says to me that he's pretty much locked in on her at the moment. But again, I would just have concern about the speeds of which both of them see their relationship going if it does end up like that. I think Mika wants someone. I think Mika would have the relationship happen seriously and early, whereas I
Mm-hmm.
think Justin is saying, "Nah, let's take our time. We got today outside the process, which I also think is quite logical as well. You don't need to rush,
Yeah.
especially
I,
because he doesn't want to have kids. So what's the rush? She hasn't got
so there's no
her
rush if he
clock's not
doesn't
ticking
want to have
anymore.
children. Okay.
Yeah, she don't want to have kids. So what's the rush?
Yeah. True. True. But as some people are guesstimating that maybe she's looking for more financial security, maybe she's looking for, again, that father figure that I was talking about, even though he may not be her children's biological father. Maybe he could stand in the gap for them. Maybe that could be
Hmm.
something that the right person, the right man with the right kind of heart, that doesn't think he's a simp or whatever you guys are calling men that marry women that have children before they meet this man. Maybe somebody with a heart could come in and step in and be that father figure for her children, and possibly she might even decide to change her mind and go have that surgery reversed and give him a baby.
Well, I think one thing Mika's done is stand on exactly who she is. She
Okay.
hasn't been flexible at all. She said, you know what? I want a guy like this. I don't want him to have kids. I want him to take care of my kids. I don't, I'm not going to have
Now
kids
that
for him. This, that, the other. She's
yeah
been very rigid. And now, like I
that
said, this is where she's ended up. So she just has to enjoy it.
that part I don't understand. Years ago, my mother, when I moved into this new house, my neighbor became very close with my mother, and they really bonded. It was almost like my mother was her second mother, and so she was in the situation where she had had a daughter um, when she met my next door neighbor, and they started dating. So she already had a child, and
Hmm.
he accepted that child and became a father figure, and they got married. They were married a couple years, and she was
Hmm.
talking to my mother, and she was saying, well, I don't know, my husband wants me to have another child for him, but she was kind of like hesitant about it. My mother told her, she said, girl, if you don't get to making that baby with your husband. And so she did,
Hmm.
and they did. They had a son, and that was the completeness of their family. They didn't want any more children. They had a son and they had a daughter. And but I think back, and she used to tell me after my mother passed away, she used to tell me, if it wasn't for your mother, I don't know if my husband and I we would still be married. But I could never understand on my part as a woman, I could never understand that if you marry a man and he accepts your child or children and you're still young and healthy enough to have a child for your husband, I never understood a woman that would not want to give her husband a child. I just it's like it's just it's mind boggling to me.
Hmm. Sometimes
Mind
it may
boggling.
have been a traumatic experience, or it may have been a difficult childbirth, or
Okay. But
some
taking
postpartum
those
or
out of
something like that.
the equation, because I've come across this several times over the last 20, 30 years. Even my daughter, her friends that think like this, they have already had one child, not all of them, but one or two of them have had a child. They were single. Now they want to find a man and get married. But they're saying, well, yeah, but I don't think I want to have any more children. And I'm thinking to myself, most young men that are in their 30s that are single and want to get married, one of the reasons, not saying it's the whole reason why a man gets married, but one of the reasons is because he wants to create a family inside the
Hmm.
bonds of matrimony. So, like,
Yep.
why would you think that you could marry a guy? And I mean, outside of like now you're saying there's some situations like somebody that almost died in childbirth, or the doctors told them they can't have any more children. I'm knocking that out of the equation. Just saying a regular woman that's had a regular childbirth. Yeah, we all went through pain having a child. Yes, but we live to live another day, and you
Hmm.
could have another child. It's mind boggling to me. I don't understand it.
Mm. But you're right. For some guys, it's very important to, there does come a stage where you're like, I may want to start thinking about the legacy I leave.
Hmm.
Do I want to have a family, get married, give that a try? Because there are amazing benefits to being married, um,
Hmm.
as opposed to being out in the streets, or being alone and single.
Right.
So, that I can assume that there are some stages in a man's life where they do think to themselves, okay, look, I'm getting up in age now, or I like this lady a lot. I want to put a ring on it. And now I'm thinking, once I put a ring on it, we have to start having children after that. They're not just getting married just to be your life partner. So you grow old together, wither and die, argue back and forth, and all the rest of it till you reach 90, and then you start to kick the bucket. That's not appealing, right? The benefits of marriage often include not only just having a partner there for life, but having children, offspring that carry the essence of both parents.
Okay. Well, I'm seeing Alice is saying, I think Mika is looking for a man to play with her son, to be a strong male figure for him, because it sounded like her son's father was involved in his life. Okay. Okay. I hear you on that. Babs has a point. Children are expensive. They are. I think it's like that
Okay.
equivalent of what I think of when you say children are expensive. I think of this like people make time for what the things that they want to do. I think the same thing kind of goes for children. If you want children, you kind of figure out a way. So it's kind of like if people are preparing for marriage, preparing for family, you're preparing yourself, right? You just don't go and do it. You don't just tomorrow go and have a baby or tomorrow go get married, get hitched up when you've not thought of a plan. Where will we live? How will we pay for this child? How will we pay for schooling and so forth and so on? I think everything is about when you become an adult, at least anyway, it's about a decision, a choice, and then a plan, and then communicating that plan with your partner, i.e., your spouse or baby father, baby mother. These are all things that you discuss, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I,
What do you think, Jr.?
I think, unfortunately, there aren't too many circumstances where everybody is prepared for having a child, i.e., having top tier finances, having a top tier marriage relationship type security, um, and being aligned in terms of your relationship and what your goals are. Not many people have all of those things in place with the person that they have children with.
Hmm.
Sometimes, um, maybe two out of the three or one out of those is actually the reason you got together. And also, there are a lot of pe- people who become parents unplanned uh,
Hmm.
and completely unexpectedly.
Yes.
But the fact of the matter is everything is expensive these days. Like, can you name five things that are cheap these days where you feel like you got value for money? No, it's hard because everything's gone up in price.
Everything's
Whether it
expensive.
be
Food
clothes,
is
whether it be
expensive.
bills,
Hmm. Hmm.
school fees, everything's gone up. Um, so I think if you are looking at the cost of everything, yeah, it might be off-putting because you're going to add an extra burden in terms of your finances to the situation. But at the end of the day, if our parents didn't make the decision to have us, we wouldn't be here either. And I guarantee you, some of them struggled and had to put eggs on the windowsill because they didn't have a freezer. Over here in the UK, cost of living is high.
Hmm.
So people are in a tough situation where they're trying to determine whether to heat the home, like turn on the gas and electric to heat the home, or feed the children. Right? Because a lot of people can't do both at the moment.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
they're relying on the schools now to feed the children
Mm.
so that they can afford to heat the home when the kids come home. Right?
Wow.
But I
Yeah.
guarantee you, at the time when those kids were born, it wasn't like that. It was a bit better than that, right? But as things have
Right.
gotten more expensive, now you have to um, work second income or hold on to your finances a lot more or be more strategic with how you spend your money. Um, but ultimately, it's hard no matter what you do. My dad, when he and my mum had their children, me and my siblings,
Hmm.
my dad went and worked overtime every single week for a large amount of time. He was still present in our lives every day.
Right.
But when it came to working and providing, he knew that he couldn't just clock off at 5 o'clock. Nah, he went and did private jobs. Or if there was bank holidays or time and a half, double pay, he would take those jobs. If they were sending him away and it led to more money for that month, he would go and do that. But he would still be a very key presence in our lives every day, as well as a very solid provider. And he continues to be 45 years later,
Wow.
to the point that my mom doesn't pay bills, pay mortgage and things like that.
That
Never.
sounds
She's
like my
never.
mother's life.
Right. My mom works and has her own money. She's been taken care of for the last 45 years based on my dad working and providing for her as well as his children. But in this day and time, could he do the same thing? And and I guarantee it was a sacrifice that he made. But would he have the same outcome if he started now and tried to do that? No, it's a lot more expensive. No matter how much
Yeah.
overtime he did, no matter it's still going to be hard.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm looking at these notes and I'm looking at the time. We better step it up. Okay,
Yeah,
so we got that. We got
let's
that
go.
handled. Okay, so now to the next scene. And thank you for that. I always appreciate you sharing. When we do these personal anecdote stories of our lives and what's happening. Your father. That's all important. I don't want. I don't want you to think I don't think that's important. I just looked at the
No, no, no,
notes.
it's all good.
Okay, so Vanessa, we see Vanessa in the next scene. She's introducing Chaz to her sister Gwen. Gwen flew in to meet him, and Chaz tells us that he has mixed feelings in his confessional. He tells us that he has mixed feelings about this meeting. We find out in this conversation, in this meeting, that Chaz has a dog. Chaz says that he's kind of introverted. Um, but we find out that Vanessa doesn't like pets. She says that raising her children is enough for her. Um, Chaz tells the sister that he has a connection, that he has had a connection with 10 out of the 11 women. And I thought to myself, is this going to be like Married at First Sight? Is there a female producer? And what do we see in the scenes for next week? We see there's a female producer with Laron and Maya, right? So
Mhm.
what what did you think of this scene? What did you think of Chaz and this whole thing with Vanessa?
Well, Vanessa's sister, friend, whoever that actually is, um,
Oh,
I think she asked some very relevant and important questions.
okay.
Um, Vanessa, uh, she seemed to enjoy the questions that were being asked of Chaz. Chaz was very candid, in my opinion, very
Mm-hmm.
open.
Yes.
Um, and I think when he heard the word manipulative,
Yes, that came up, didn't it?
yeah, right. When he heard that, I think that's one of the things that maybe makes him puts the brakes on his connection with Vanessa. But the actual interactions, it went as I would have thought. Good questions, good answers. He seems to be able to answer quite well in those situations. I just feel like if Vanessa's not, if Vanessa wants to be your top connection and you only connection, but you have other connections that you are obviously so interested in that you're not willing to prioritize Vanessa, then you need to just tell her, look, I'm open to still seeing if we can establish something, but
Mm-hmm.
you need to go and date other people or something because I'm dating other people and I'm going to make the choice on who I'm better connected with at the time of my choosing. I'm not rushing because you ain't got nobody.
Right.
So
Vanessa she never really seemed to open herself up to any of the other men except for Chaz.
only Dominique, and that was
Ah, you're
briefly.
right. You're right. You're right. She did have a connection with Dominique. You're right. But Dominique
Hmm.
doesn't like to pursue. Dominique was seemed to be
Right,
rather laid back about his connection with her.
exactly. And is Chaz pursuing Vanessa?
Well,
Nope, he didn't see her till 7 o'clock last week.
yeah, no,
He's
that
been
wasn't a pursuit.
entertaining three or four
That
other
was seven
ladies at the
p.m.
same
too.
time.
That was 7 p.m., not a.m. That was seven
Right,
p.m.
so he's been pursuing other connections the whole time.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
true.
so and Patricia came and taken pole position for the way she handled him last week. So is he really pursuing Vanessa like that, or does she just have hope and expectation that he's going to choose her? Um,
Mm,
and I think Vanessa is a fan favorite this season, so I think that's one of the reasons why Chaz gets so much heat because people think
ah,
that he should be locking her down and be matching her intention about trying to solidify a relationship. But if he's not there, then he's not there. You can't force him. Um, when a guy likes you and he's going to prioritize you, it's because he's zoned in on you and he really sees you as being completely different from the other ladies. If he's umming and ahhing or he's undecided or anything like that, then he's uncertain and he's not going to make a solid decision on uncertainty. There's too
mm-hmm.
much to lose.
Mm.
So yeah, I think the questions and the actual date went quite well, but obviously, um, the friend, I think she has some very big reservations about Chaz, and Vanessa kind of does as well, but she keeps ignoring them. Um, and then, like you said, he has pets. He has a dog. She doesn't even
Mm-hmm.
like pets. He goes to the gym. Clearly, he works out to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. She said a deal breaker is a guy spending time in the gym.
Oh yeah, she did say that. Right.
So I'm not sure. And then, he doesn't have kids and she does. So I'm not sure lifestyle compatibility wise if they're even a match. I think people just want to see a feel good story from Vanessa in particular,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't really like Chaz.
But
Uh,
the thing of it, the rub of it is this season, many
hmm,
of the women on this season's cast already have children, and many of the men this season didn't have children, don't have
yeah.
children, want children.
Hmm.
So I don't
That's
know if they
true.
did that for the drama of it all. Like, how are they supposed to make a connection? Then they create a connection, and then now you have to rethink that connection. So I don't know. I don't understand. I really don't understand.
Well,
But hmm
but to be fair, there are some
hmm
guys that did have children on the show, but
yeah,
maybe they had too much
William
children, or
William
there
had
was a mm,
William had three sons.
right. Justin, no,
Not
Jonathan
just
as well. Jonathan's
Jonathan has
got
like
two
eight,
kids,
has one
and
son. Yeah, one child.
right. And what did they say about Jonathan? Have you spun the block on your ex? Like, there's a connotation that because you got kids with someone, maybe you're still dealing with them in some capacity as well. So,
But he
if
did confess that he had spun the block with his ex back in the beginning of
no,
the
he said
divorce,
he
right after.
assumed that she would be open to spinning the block with him, but he had never gone back
Oh,
to her like that.
oh, okay. You're right. You're right. Oh my.
So
Okay.
I think if the ladies who do have children were saying, you know what, I don't want to have kids, right? Okay, so are you looking for a guy that has kids himself? If the answer is yes, then date those guys that have kids. Then you have that similarity with them, that lifestyle compatibility.
People are too
If the
selfish.
answer
I'm
is
just
no, and
yeah.
you want to date someone who doesn't have kids because you don't want to deal with the baby mamas and you don't want to deal with the dramas and the finances going out to someone else when they could all
Right.
be with you,
hmm
then you also have to be mindful that those guys will want some of those guys will want kids.
Yeah. I'm just looking at the selfishness across the board on the women's side and the men's side in some of these cases. Like, I think it's very selfish, like you pointed out, for the women that have children to say that they want the men that are single without children, and yet and still they don't want to have any more children if these guys should commit and marry them. How selfish is that? I don't know. I don't get it. But we got to
Mm,
press on. We got to press on. So
mm-hmm.
we talked about Vanessa and Chaz. Okay, we got that out the way. And just one other thing with them, real quick. Do you remember if Chaz was there when Vanessa brought up the fact that she thought that he might be sending duplicate text messages to his four connections?
Yep,
Was he sitting at the table?
yep. And I'm not surprised he did that because unfortunately he fell into the trap of copy and pasting, and this is why it's not good to have more than one connection, because you're
Mm.
not going to be able to have four separate conversations and four separate interactions and four separate everything all the time. There are going to be times where he's probably going to, okay, well, I said good morning to one. Let me just send like five good mornings at one time.
Mm,
That
mm,
way
mm.
I've done it. Then they can say I've shown up today, you
There's
know?
no way a woman can feel special now when she gets that good morning big head text. It's just no way.
Yeah, it's either
No.
she's not going to feel special or all of them are going to feel special because they received it. And I doubt it's going to be the latter, right? So
Yeah, I don't think she should feel special. And you know what? That
yeah,
goes
but
back
that's
to
that's
my
on him.
point.
He has to eliminate the connections. Like you can't just have
hmm
them there for the
hmm
sake of it. Like if there's not enough time. Like you have to.
I
if,
got a
like
question
I
for
said,
you.
if he,
I got,
yeah,
I
go
got.
ahead, go.
I'm sorry. I got a question for you though. Speaking of this text, because this is what I was about to say, but I want to ask your opinion because you're in that generation. So, what would it be like if the man was to actually pick up the phone, punch your numbers in it, or hit your name, hit call, and actually say good morning, big head, to you, to the woman? What would be the harm of that? I mean, why don't men do that more? Why don't men call women more? Why is it everything has got to be a text?
Well, we live in a different age now where you do have the facility to text, and it's a lot quicker.
Hmm.
Conversations can
Go on and on.
go on, can hold up your line so other people can't get through to you.
Oh Lord,
Uh,
everybody's got call waiting. Don't they have call waiting over there in the UK?
yeah, yeah, but again, we don't. In fact, we don't even have call waiting. The call just actually comes up, and then you choose to accept it or reject it.
Right. That's why you're on the phone with one call, and then someone else
Yeah,
happens to call you. Yeah, that's what I call
but
call waiting, or that's what it
but
was when I was
also you're
on
setting yourself up for. So, say
landline.
for example, he does call Vanessa every day and
Right.
say good morning, right?
Yeah.
Um, then
You tell her
he's got
I'm
other
running out the
connections.
door. You
Yeah, but
listen.
he's
This is
got
how you
other
get off the phone.
connections. That would be
Mhm.
prioritizing Vanessa above the others. He doesn't want to do that yet. And
But I
and and this
but
is
I'm
the thing
just
I
saying,
don't like. This
whoever
is
his
this is one
priority
thing.
is. What?
This is one thing I don't like about what Chaz is doing.
Okay.
When he's around Vanessa, similar to what we just said with Justin,
Hmm.
when he's around kids, when he's around women with kids, he says one thing. When he's around women who don't have kids, he says another thing. This is what Chaz does with Vanessa. When he's around her, yes, I worship your temple every time I enter it. Right? He says things like that. Then at the same time, yeah, but Patrice, I'm not sure if Vanessa's my strongest connection. Right? So it's kind of
Hmm.
sending mixed messages. Tell Vanessa straight up what you like, what you don't like, where you see it going. And if Patrice has been able to come in and like sneak in at the last minute and pull you away because she showed compassion, caring, empathy, and prayed for you, and you value that over the connection you had with Vanessa because you thought she was quite selfish about the way she handled it and she didn't even care whether you were there or not, then tell her and go with Patrice. But don't be sitting there holding hands under the table and saying, "Yeah, I like you, girl. You got everything I need." And then
Mm.
at the same time, you're in the confessional. Straight after that, you're like, "Yeah, she's not even my top connection." That's where I think he's going wrong,
Mm.
and that's why he's getting so much heat. You can't
Ah.
have it both ways.
Okay. Someone has come up with a hybrid. My co-host on Married at First Sight, Kimberly Reviews, says I'm guilty. I prefer texting, but I love hearing my man's voice, and he knows it. Sometimes he sends me voice notes and voice
There
text
you go.
messages. That's it. That's the key. We have
That
solved
works.
these young men's problem. They don't have to
But
text. They don't have to call. Wait a minute, hold on. They don't have to call. They can send a voice text, right? Message.
but that has been happening between Chaz and Vanessa, which is why her voice note got apparently leaked during the hack. They have been sending voice notes to each other, and he
Oh
leaked hers.
Lord.
So they have been doing that.
Mm. And explain to people that maybe may not be in the know with all the stuff that's going on outside the show. What voice message are you talking about?
Okay, specifically regarding a situation that was basically, I think this is more to do with how Vanessa was portraying herself on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what happened was there was a fellow YouTuber who did a review on an
Mm-hmm.
interview that my boy Kojo did with Dominique, and she left some comments. the YouTuber, and then she also did a video review about it. And Vanessa probably took issue with the YouTuber in question. Her name's married for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, she took issue with the fact that married for 10 years was insinuating that her and Chaz had been intimate, like physical, sexual.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And she tried to say that her young son walked into the room at the time when graphic events were being detailed.
Mm-hmm.
So she was creating a narrative that nothing's taken place. How can you assume this? How can you insinuate this? And then mysteriously, a voice note that she had sent to Chaz at some point gets leaked,
Yeah.
where she basically confirms that they have been having hot and heavy time to some degree away from the cameras.
Oh Lord.
So the narrative that's being portrayed on the show isn't accurate. In actual fact, they have been meeting and spending time together outside of the show. So
I
that's
think a
where
lot.
that
I think a
that
lot
stems
of
from.
these couples that are really actual couples have done that, and we see that every year with this show. They get together
Right.
outside the show, and then it steals all the magic away from the audience because we don't get to see them connecting, and we're wondering, well, when did this connection happen? We didn't see it on screen.
Exactly. But these are adults. Like you're not just. I mean, when you get home from filming, you've just spent 10 or 13 hours together. Yeah, you're going to go back to your real life, but also in order to water your connection, you're going to check in from time to time. You're going to maintain some level of correspondence and conversation with each other in order to build on your connections that you have. So I think it's pretty standard.
Mm,
And yeah, so I think the narrative that was portrayed before, I think the airing or leaking of these messages was designed to say that don't be deceived. Some people are getting a good edit, and in reality, they're getting down just like any normal person would. Don't be trying to pedestalize this person,
mm.
and they're out here doing the same thing that all the other people are doing.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And then some
So,
people took that as a takedown.
mm,
Oh, why's it got to be aired? Who did this? Oh, Chaz is low and all the rest of it. Yeah.
we're
Um,
hoping to find out later this season. We're hoping to find out,
uh-huh.
directly
The
from
main man himself.
the main man himself, what really happened because we don't know. I don't know. All I know is one day I was on Beyonce's internet and I see a fellow YouTuber has a video out and I go over to check it out and I hear what very definitely sounds like it's Vanessa's voice talking
Mm-hmm.
about, like you said, some hot and heavy time with Chaz outside
Mm-hmm.
of the show and how
Yep.
she was basically duping Uncle, Nephew, Cousin Tommy because she was saying, "Oh, I barely see him," and but
Yep.
apparently she
And the
says,
audience too.
"Yeah, with
She's
the
duping the
audience
audience.
too." She says,
Yeah.
"Meanwhile, after I finished telling him that, I'm basically in the car tonguing him down." I'm like, "What? You tonguing him down?
Exactly.
What, girl?"
Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. So I
And
don't know.
I just saw a comment, Miss Iffy, saying that Chaz showed how
Miss Iffy's
childish he is by bad mouthing Vanessa in front of Patrice's mother and brother. It was a low blow and classless
here.
moment. Patrice should take note as he'll be talking about her too. No, I don't think he will.
Oh,
Nope. I don't think he will be talking about Patrice like that because
oh.
just like when Vanessa has called him manipulative and gaslighting and all these different things when she's in front of her friends or in the ladies' lounge, um, that is clearly more damaging than being asked about his other connections and why he feels like he can't connect to Vanessa like that.
Mm.
So yeah, unfortunately, I don't see that point at all. I didn't take it as something that he was trying to downplay Vanessa. He was asked about the connection that he has with the other ladies other than
Oh,
Patrice,
okay.
and he was as candid as he could be at that point. I don't think he threw her
Yeah,
under the
I,
bus at
I,
all.
I I think it to me, for me, Miss Effie, and I know we're gonna all have our point of view and perspective on it. So that's fine. I did like JR though too. I did take it as he was being as candid about his other connection because specifically, um, uh, Patrice's mom asked him about that, and we haven't even really gotten there yet. But yeah, but she did. She asked him about did he have any other connections, and he was quite candid with her by responding about Vanessa. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. But we're gonna continue on with these notes. We've got meanwhile on the other side of town, Alonzo is meeting Patrice's brother, and we see simultaneously they're showing us the date that happened because Chaz got to meet Patrice's mom and brother. So
Mhm.
just that one thing right there, just the one thing right there, the difference in who the two men met. Do you think that's significant, JR?
Yeah, I think it's very significant. I think Patrice holds Chaz in a higher esteem, which is why she allowed him the privilege of meeting her mother as well as her brother. And I think she sees Alonzo as being more playful, youthful. Some might say not as mature and
Mm-hmm.
serious at this point. So that's why she only introduced him to the brother. And the brother, although it was light-hearted at first, he quickly turned that off. I said, "Yeah, now it's time to get serious now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not playtime anymore. This
And
is this is my sister you're dealing with.
mm-hmm.
Let me
I
hear
think that
your serious
came
intentions with her."
and it seems to me like if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, JR. It seemed like that comment about that the brother made to um Alonzo about him being a little goofy kind of came
Hmm.
after he had asked him about where they would live, what kind of plans he had for his sister. And then he said, well,
Hmm.
I don't know, haven't thought about whether a house or an apartment. Hey, maybe we should get a house. What do you think? Like it was just like he said, I'm kind of like a go with the flow kind of guy.
Yeah. Now the thing is, uh, Alonso does come across as a go with the flow kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at this point, anyway. Um, and I don't think there are too many guys on this season that have been, as forward thinking as fast as some of the ladies are about being so serious. So he definitely comes across as that, a very laid back,
Mm-hmm.
let's go with the flow, let's see what happens type of dude.
I
And
was
the brother wasn't here for it.
Yeah,
I'll just
he wasn't. He was standing on business. But also though, I was saddened for Alonzo that he had a stepfather in his life as a child, and that he said to us um, that his stepfather, he made the mistake of calling his stepfather dad one day, and the stepfather snapped at him and said, "Don't you ever call me that." That was so sad.
right. And I think that's why Alonso has a light-hearted, more comedic, jokey style of personality.
Hmm.
I think when it gets to the more serious conversations and the vulnerable side of him, he uses the comedy and the light-hearted personality to kind of hide it or mask it or distract from it. Some
Right.
of the experiences he had, because that was painful, but it still affects him to this day. Clearly,
Yeah.
obviously not to the point where he's acting out, but it's something that stayed with him,
Yeah.
and it's
That was
created that
sad.
memory, right? Uh,
Yeah. And I'm just want to say this real quick. I heard some people question, well, maybe he was telling them that, and it was because his father, his biological father, was still active in his life. But to that I say that's fine if his biological father is still active in his life. But this is the man that he sees every day. This is his stepfather. They're living in the same house. Why wouldn't he think of him as a dad also?
Hmm.
That's just natural to
Well,
me, especially if he's a young kid when his mother married, his stepdad, especially then.
right. But the stepdad may not have liked the children that came with the marriage.
Apparently,
So
apparently, it sounds
yeah,
like he didn't.
exactly. He probably wanted the mother, but not the children that came with her.
That's sad.
But that's unfortunately something that can happen in these situations as well, where you know you've got kids prior and you're meeting someone and trying to have a relationship, marriage or whatever. They may not. They may actually dislike your kids, or your kids may dislike your partner that you've chosen. It's not nice, but
Mhm.
I think that that can happen in some instances.
Yeah, yeah, that can. Okay, so um, and what did you think, real quick, too? What did you think about when Zoe was called Goofy by the brother? Because it seemed to kind of go right over Zoe's head. He didn't. Alonzo didn't. He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't get upset. He takes everything in stride. Like he says, he goes with the flow.
Mm.
And I guess he wasn't. He's not a hothead like some people on this cast. Not saying any names. Laron. But he doesn't get upset. But would you have been put off by someone, another man, calling you goofy?
No, because I think it's a regional thing, or I do
Okay.
know in
Hmm.
some parts of the states where you're from, um, if you call someone goofy, it's an offensive term. It's taken very seriously. It's used as a derogatory word type thing.
Hmm.
But if the person is more of a clown, or they show more of a comedic side, they don't take things too seriously. That's
Hmm.
how I take it. Like, if
Yeah.
someone said you're goofy, I'll just take it as, oh yeah, you're just being silly.
Silly. Yeah. Okay. And he
But
he does
but
show those sides a lot. Yeah.
mhm,
Okay. All right then. So and then back to Chaz. So Chaz in the meeting with the mom and Patrice's brother, um, he gets asked by the mother if he thinks would he consider himself to be wealthy, and Chaz answers, "Yes, I do." Why do you think Patrice's mom asked Chaz that? And was that an appropriate question to ask at this meeting?
I think how much money a guy has and wealth is a very key factor into what makes him attractive these days. So, not surprised by the question, and I think that's one of the reasons why Chaz has so many connections in this show.
Oh, because he is wealthy, because of his big
Yep,
beautiful home that the ladies have all been to for the most part.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
People make a
Okay.
big deal about finances and whether this guy's a dusty and whether he's broke and all this stuff. Chaz isn't. He's clearly shown
No.
he has things going on. So
Yeah.
that makes him very appealing.
I like what Chaz said though when he responded to the mom. He said that basically, and I'm paraphrasing, but my gist that I got out of it, he said basically that he made some sacrifices when he was younger. He made some hard choices, and now he's at the point in his life where
Mhm.
he's reaping the benefits of those choices to go to school, study, be
Mm.
a data analyst, be in the STEM sector of the world and industry, which is very high paying.
Mhm.
And we've seen quite a few people, even earlier this season. Patricia came by and did an interview with myself and Tequila. And in that interview, she talked
Mhm.
about recruiting uh, 22 and 23-year-old college graduates, that her company, a STEM company, was paying these young 22 and 23-year-old graduates something like $120,000 right out the gate, right out of college.
Mhm. Mhm.
So can you imagine
And
that?
as guys, we often are. are kind of learning as we grow into manhood that you do have to make sacrifices in order to have the best outcomes. Because we walk a tightrope every day where one wrong move or one bad interaction could change the trajectory of our whole life or career path. So there are sacrifices that need to be made in order to stay focused or stay on your purpose. It's very important for men to be able to do that. And Chaz has reaped
Hmm.
the reward from his sacrifices, as he said, and that's ended up making him more attractive or marketable to the ladies on the show. Hence why he has so many connections.
Okay. Okay. Okay, in the next scene, so we're kind of getting to it now. In the next scene, we got Maya on the phone. Takes a call, and maybe it's just me, and I'm overthinking this, but that voice did not sound like that was her mom's voice. That sounded like a much younger woman, but I could be wrong. Maybe her mom's voice sounds like it's her sister. But anyway, her she takes a call from the mom. The mom is canceling the meeting, something that's come up at the last minute, and then we see Laron come in. Maya does manage to give him a hug, but it seemed very hesitant on my part as I'm watching it. And we sit down. They sit down, and basically Maya has already kind of prepped us because she's let us know in her confessional that she had went out on an unauthorized date. It was a group of them, a group of the castmates, went to this club called Lava in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and apparently she saw an acquaintance of hers that she knew from, she's known for a while. It was a gentleman, and she was speaking to him, gave him a hug, greeted him with a hug. Laron dipped off to the bathroom, which I think is very interesting. He dipped off to the bathroom and then came back, and at some point in time, you can pick the story up from there. Jr., what did you hear about all this cursing and all these beaches that Maya allegedly was, and all these FUs? What did you hear about it?
Yeah, so apparently, yeah, like you said, nature took his course for LeBron, um, and he had to go and sort himself out. And
Yeah.
mind you, it wasn't a one-to-one date where it was just him and Maya there exclusively together on a date. From what I understand, it was some type of function or gathering, party or whatever at this particular venue. Other castmates were also present. While he was away, going to relieve himself or whatever he did, um, Maya met an acquaintance that was there at the venue as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Laron comes out, catches them either saying hello or greeting each other in some type of embrace, and then
Mm-hmm.
exchanging phone numbers. He gets heated,
Mm-hmm.
insecure,
Mm-hmm.
possessive.
Yes.
He storms out.
Angry. Angry.
Yeah, angry. Yeah, yeah. Storms out, where
Mm-hmm.
he then sees Mika and I guess some of the other castmates, but Mika in particular. And then he starts letting off the B words and F bombs about how you're not going to treat me like a simp, you're not going to play me, specifically referencing Maya and what he just witnessed in the club. So that's why in the ladies' lounge, when Tommy asked if Mika had been privy to some of this behavior, she said yes, she has experienced it. Because it turns out that he actually went off on Mika about what he'd seen in the club with Maya. So it wasn't directly that he went and challenged Maya about it, or he went up to her and he called her a B and you trying to play me, you trying to treat me like a sucker. He didn't have that conversation directly with her, and Maya confirmed this as well in a chat uh, on a panel yesterday. So he went off on uh, Mika about Maya. Obviously, very dumb move because now your insecurities, your anger, and all that stuff is now going to be shared amongst the ladies in the ladies' lounge. You also hurt the person's feelings that you have been trying to get. You've been eliminating people left, right, and center to try and get to her. And now you've managed to succeed in your dastardly plan.
Mm-hmm.
You go and botch your opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Botched it.
I don't
Mm-hmm.
blame Maya for being pissed because let's face it, in a nightclub, in a bar, in a nightlife arena, chances are you're gonna bump into people that you haven't seen in a long time, or
Mm-hmm.
people that you know from that scene, and unfortunately, that's not your girl. You're not in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, so that level of insecurity and possessiveness, as he admitted that he has,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a good combination with alcohol and a hot temper. And that's why I mentioned before with Koshia, he did the same thing. He wasn't inebriated. There wasn't. I can't say he was under the influence, but he definitely displayed that type of possessive anger,
Mm-hmm.
insecurity combination with Koshia when she was
Yes, he
talking to the
did.
other guys in the mixer, the lounge, or whatever that was. But
And
this
I
time he's done it
mm-hmm.
with the wrong person because this is the person that he actually wanted to land the whole time. So he's done all these sneaky shenanigans trying to
Mm-hmm.
eliminate both Williams, eliminate Alexis when he was the one that orchestrated Koshia going home in order
Mm-hmm.
to get to Maya. And now he's put his foot in it. And his apology was terrible because he
It
was
wasn't
laughing and
even an
giggling all the way through
apology.
his. Yeah, it wasn't
Wasn't
even an
it? Was there
apology.
even
Laughing and giggling the whole time.
I mean, like he's laughing and giggling like a little girl. He's
Yeah, he's
laughing and
doing all
giggling like
gestures
a
to say, "Yeah, this is when it torpedoed. He's going downhill. He's all doing these mannerisms and gestures to make light of the situation." No,
yeah.
Maya clearly
He's
took
got
it seriously,
yeah.
and
I mean, like so
as we were
he's
saying,
got these two
as we were saying
two.
before
I'm
air,
sorry.
I don't think this is a
Yeah,
one-off for
go ahead.
him. Even though he said it's a one-off, I don't think it's a one-off
No,
because
it's
he's
not
in the
one
club
off. We've
a lot.
already seen him angry before. We've already seen him.
Exactly.
Now, what they didn't show us, this is it. Let
Hmm.
me just say this. What they didn't show us several weeks ago. So we're going back to when Koshia was still on the show. So we know that was several weeks ago,
Hmm.
right? Because she's been eliminated for a long time now. Okay, that he and
Hmm.
Koshia, we know that he and Koshia had made a connection from the first mixer, the very first mixer, right? She had him lean in. Remember that? She said, told him to lean in. And she said, "Do you know why I asked you to lean in?" And he says, "Why? So I could kiss you?" And she said, "No," and so forth and so on. But anyway, we see them
Hmm.
later. We see them some weeks back when he got so angry with her because she had been talking at another mixer, a different mixer. She was talking with various gentlemen, trying to strengthen and build connections with other people besides him because this is another
Hmm.
couple, and this is my theory. I think that Cole and Laron got in some real good hot and heavy time. And then you know what happens, ladies? A lot of these guys, you give them the hot and heavy time. What happens? They're not interested anymore. You're giving up the goods too soon.
Mm.
You're giving up the goods before you've really built a true and honest emotional connection. So they're
Well,
already on to
in
the
that
next.
instance,
They're already on to the next. They're already on to the next woman. And let's be clear. Maya ticks off all of Laron's boxes. She's beautiful. She's hot. She's beautiful. She's sexy. She's successful. She has a day job. She has an entrepreneurial job. She's doing all the things that are thinging. And he likes everything about her, but he felt like in my opinion, LeBron felt like this woman was out of his league, and that's why he's so insecure.
yeah, very true. But again, like we said, he has been insecure with Koshir as well. And
Yeah, true,
I
true.
think, I mean, I don't know if they did have hot and heavy time, Laron and Koshia, but
They did.
the problem was he was in his feelings because after that hot and heavy time, or during the period they were having it, she then stopped calling him and messaging in him for a few days or whatever, and she was spending time with other guys, trying to get to know other guys, which she's entitled to do because that's the show. But he got in his feelings about kind of being, excuse my language, but pumped and dumped, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seemed like he felt like a piece of meat, like he was being used or played or whatever, and that's what made him
Yeah,
get mad.
I think
So
so.
it wasn't even the case like she was upset about giving up the cookie. No, it was more like he felt like, wait a minute, we were just talking, doing all this stuff for the last few days, and then you've ghosted me. And when he confronted her about it, she admitted it. Yeah, I haven't been calling you, I haven't been speaking to you, and he then decided to go and use Maya as a prop to go and get her jealous because he was being petty and in his feelings at the time. But
Mm.
yeah, so he definitely made a big boo boo with this one, and rightfully so. I think Maya is going to hold him to account because she does not and should not expect to be treated or spoken to like that by anybody. That's not your
No,
man.
not at
She
all.
even said
Not ever.
if Laron was her man, she would have introduced him as her man to the guy that her acquaintance or whatever. They're not
And
together. So that
my
level of
que-
insecurity and possessiveness is crazy.
my question is to any strong-minded man. I don't know any strong-minded, assertive man that I know that wouldn't, if in the same situation, wouldn't have simply introduced themselves. She doesn't have to make the introduction. He could have as easily said, "My name is Laron so and so, and it's a pleasure to meet you," or whatever, offered his hand. The gentleman probably would have said, "I'm Bob or Joe or Tom or whatever his name is," and given a little bit more information and clarity to the situation. But
Exactly.
you get all in your emotions and your feelings, LaRon, and you just decide that this is what it is. You don't have any rhyme or reason. You just go by your feelings, your emotions. And it's obvious that you're a hothead. And I think about the interview that I saw of LaRon, because this stands out in my mind. And I thought it was really weird when he said it. I thought it was something really odd about it. It just stuck out in my mind. He gave an interview, I think it was with Kojo, and anyway, whoever it was, he was giving this interview and he was talking about he was in college, he was dating this young lady, and he was starting to fall for her, have really serious feelings for this young lady, when he found out that actually she had a main dude and he was actually this girl's side dude, right? So he
Hmm.
felt like a simp. He felt like a simp, and he's been
Hmm.
on this kick ever since, that he don't ever want to feel like a simp ever again. But guess what, Laron? All of us have been fools. We've all been fooled by somebody before. Male, female, black, white, Native
Hmm.
American, whatever
Yep.
race you are, all of us have been duped by somebody. And guess what? It wasn't the first time. It probably won't be the last time either. And because, in my opinion, because what you have reaped with these two women by talking to them so abusively, you're gonna sow that back. You're gonna sow that back. And it may be, I don't know how you're gonna sow it back, but in my mind, I think about maybe you get with someone, maybe you even get married to this person, and then something, because it's going to be tenfold worse than what you said and what you did, right? So maybe
Hmm.
you get married to somebody and then you find out that you're a married simp. So if I were
Hmm.
you, I would start really repenting on that, what you did. And then I would really start finding out why you do that, because you seem like a nice person. The little interaction that we've had, I thought you were a really good guy. But this is very, very disappointing that year after year, Ready to Love brings on these men that think it's totally okay to talk to women any kind of way, like we down in the gutter. We're just the lowest of low. The vibration is low, that you can just sit up and talk to people any kind of way like that. That's not right. And what I noticed on this, and last thing I'm going to say about this, what I noticed, LaRon, is that you got all this heat and smoke for the women, But if you really thought this guy was moving in on your connection, not even your woman, not even your wife, not anybody that you have a real commitment with, but if you really thought that, why didn't you step to him? Why didn't, like you said, like I said, why didn't you at least even introduce yourself to him? You know why? Because you're a coward. That's why. Men that
Yeah,
abuse
like
women,
I think that
they're
that's a
cowards.
very it's to do with, again, insecurity. Yeah, like he obviously felt intimidated in some way about the situation, um, or the environment they were in, where he didn't want to go and introduce himself. But how, what's he going to introduce himself as? He's not the boyfriend. He has no
Hmm.
real stake in the game.
No,
Like
but
it
like
wasn't an exclusive date.
when you're in a group setting or when you're around someone that you do know, you've never seen where people, I've done it. I've seen people do it where sometimes when two people see one another and they're hugging and then they finish hugging, is an awkward silence or awkward moment. It's not unusual for someone to just simply say, "Hi, my name is Aubrey. Hi, my name is Laron." That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying. Like you don't
yeah,
have to
no, I
say,
get
you
that.
don't have to put a title with it to introduce yourself. You just simply say your name and offer your hand for a handshake. And I'm saying is that to me, men deal with men as men. But when you can't look another man in the face and even introduce yourself, but then you want to go back outside and you want to talk to Mika and you want to call this other woman that you're supposedly connected with all kind of B's and all kinds of whatever and F her and F her and F her, and that's your language. But you blame it on, I'm
Hmm.
from New Jersey, I'm from New York, I'm from Brooklyn, I grew up in the gutter, I grew up in the hood. Guess what? You're still in the hood. Your
Hmm.
mindset is still in the freaking gutter. It hasn't changed. You got polished up with a nice SUV, a nice luxury condo, whatever, whatever, but you're still that hood rat. You're still acting like that hood rat.
Hmm. Yeah, I
What's
agree.
changed? What's changed? You got more
I
money.
agree.
I'm sorry.
Sometimes, you may have left the hood or left the area, but your mindset hasn't. Your mindset's still the same as if you were still there.
Right.
I think
Right,
he could
said.
easily, I think he could easily have still continued to, I mean, if he wasn't as erratic and hot headed and inebriated or insecure, any level headed dude would have felt comfortable just going back to Maya in that situation. You know, she's having a powwow with her acquaintance, they exchange numbers or whatever. Afterwards, if it's really something that you're concerned with, oh, was that one of your friends? Or, you could just fish around and, yeah, it was just an acquaintance. I know him from way back. That's the end.
Hmm. Exactly.
No big deal. But he saw that and straight away went to, oh, look, like she playing me. Look, she hugged up with this dude, taking a number and this, that, the other. Nah, man, I'm out, man. I got bees at home. I was
Oh
just in the
yeah, I
crib
forgot
with
that
two
part.
bees.
Yeah, I got the bees at home. Two bees at the
Yeah.
house.
So, nah, man, F her, man, because she's a bee, man. And I ain't no simp, man. And all this other stuff. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely crazy. So, yeah, I'm glad she seems to be offended enough to really question their connection and question him as being the type of guy that she wants to be around long term. She's very much justified in doing that. As
Wow.
men, we have to hold our composure a lot more. We cannot fly off the handle and get so rattled by something so trivial when there are so many ways that the situation could have been avoided. He just went straight to accusing her of using him and treating him like a fool and this, that, the other.
Hmm.
There
Right.
wasn't much evidence of that. That's not your girl either. So why are you so heated and so incensed by it? Okay, he might say, well, she's the one that I wanted out of all the ladies. That's the one I've been working so hard to get. So it was disappointing to see. But
Hmm.
dude, you just lost her because of how you acted, though. So you should have thought about that.
Yeah. Because this is the woman that ticked off all of your boxes, Laron. Beautiful,
Exactly. Hmm.
sexy figure, stays in shape, works out, intelligent,
Yep.
can hold a
Hmm.
conversation. Wait a
Hmm.
minute, but
Hmm.
let me get to the kicker of this all. This is what burns me up right here. This part right here. Mya, throughout this whole setting that we've seen, all that we've ever seen of her, she has been soft spoken and feminine. Now,
Yep.
black men say they
Yep.
want a feminine woman that knows how to be a woman, and you come across
Yep.
this woman that's beautiful, gorgeous to look at. Of course, she's going to get attention. Of course, men are going to notice her. She's feminine, she's
Hmm.
sweet. And all you can think to do is to break her down by calling her out her name.
Hmm.
F you.
Exactly.
You did the same thing to Koshia, so this is a pattern,
Hmm.
Laron. This is not you one off. You said in that meeting when you met with Mya that this was one off. Everybody makes a mistake. She asked you about your drinking. That's another thing. She asked you about your drinking. Well, you don't know. Maybe you can hold your frame as a man. Maybe you can keep your composure, and maybe not. That's a lack of discipline.
Hmm.
That's a serious lack
Yeah.
of self control. And if you come across the right woman, or maybe I should say the wrong woman, and maybe she just happens to have a male in her life, a man, a brother, a father that cares
Hmm.
about her, and
It's
you
gonna be
do that
problems.
to them, it could be some problems down
Yeah.
the pike. But what you're
Oh
counting
yeah.
on
Hmm.
is today in our society, we don't have women aren't covered by black men. Black women are not covered by black men. We're out here. And so when you wonder when that saying that has been true in our community and been said time and time again since before I was born and after I leave here, it'll be still said, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need a man. This is the reason why some women say that. Now, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that thought pattern or that mindset. That's not my mindset. But when we run across men like you that do things like what you did, you don't know the damage that causes to somebody to feel safe again with you. And not only you, but the next guy that she meets that might actually be a nice guy who knows how to have self control. You don't get it.
Hmm.
It's all fun and games, but when you stop and think
Exactly.
about it, that sowing part that you're going to reap, it might be that when you do get married and you do have children, you'll have all girls, and then they'll have to deal with somebody just like you,
Hmm.
just like you, Laron.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Even still, if he doesn't have a good relationship with any of his children's mothers, if he does, and he does eventually have them, he may be calling her those type of things and affecting children's upbringing because talking to and treating their mother if it doesn't work out well. I've seen a comedian who I won't mention his name just in case there are fans out there. There's a comedian from Chi-Town who refers to women as bees, refers to his ex-wife or baby mother as bees, also called his daughter a B word. Very popular comedian. Now, there are some guys that have that mindset, unfortunately. It's terrible. Um, Laron being so comfortable with not only saying that about Maya, but going to Mika, another lady who had nothing to do with it, saying the B's and the F's and I got these B's at home and all the rest of it. Then he's also calling the other two women that he was chilling with outside of the process B's as well.
Hmm.
It's not a one off. It's a pattern of behavior. It's a mindset that he has where
It's a mindset.
all these women are B's to
Misogynistic.
him. And
Hmm.
yeah, that's now I'm not gonna say he's an alcoholic, but that's a very drunken speech. It's like when you see these angry drunks, and they get some liquor in them, then they start getting that sailor potty mouth business going on.
Mm-hmm. The
They
potty
start
mouth.
effing and jeffing and cussing at the world. And if women
Mm-hmm.
are your main problem, then it's going to be all about women. And then that's going to lead to some type of abuse. That's going to lead to, you know, if it's not cut out and changed, that's going to lead to you come home from work, you open a can of beer, get inebriated, you turn to your missus and you start taking out your frustrations on what she's not doing or what she's doing, and to pee you off and everything. And that's going to lead to some type of altercation. So it's not looking good. He needs to
Yeah.
definitely slow down and change that immediately, because this is on TV. So behind closed doors, it could get crazy with a guy like that. Um,
Well,
but yeah.
so as we wrap this up, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up because
Mhm.
I don't have too much time, and like I said, I have a hard deadline that I've already
Yep.
missed. A couple of things, real quick. The ladies' lounge.
Hmm.
We're just gonna cut right to the chase. Forget all the other stuff. Still on Laron and Mya. Mya basically tells uncle, cousin, nephew Tommy that things did not go well with her and Laron. She explains that they did meet against the rules outside of taping. They met at a club. It was a group of them, and she explains that Laron, his mouth was not very nice, but she doesn't tell Tommy. So Tommy's asking her, "Well, what did he say? I need to know, what did he say? What happened?"
Hmm.
And she really doesn't want to say, I guess because of not wanting him to be kicked out of the process. And Tommy has removed a couple of these guys over the years and over the seasons, but then Mika steps in and says, I can vouch for it, because he does have a potty mouth and he can be rude, and he did say some things to me, right? So now you take it from
Hmm.
there as we wrap this up.
Right. Yeah. So Mika confirms that he does have that temperament. He did say what he said. I was surprised that Tommy. Maybe it happens on next episode, purposes or time constraints. But I was very surprised that Tommy go and directly address Laron about it, because he has stepped in when he has heard or felt that there was something egregious said or done by any of the guys with regards to the women being disrespected. So I expected to see more of a response from Tommy in that moment, but maybe he's saving it for them when he gets around the guys, and he's going to let Laron have it then. But yeah, with the ladies' lounge out, that would have automatically been a send homeable offense, um, in my opinion. So yeah, they're
Yeah,
obviously gearing up for some big showdown at the end. But that would have
yeah.
been something where the ladies, I
Hmm.
would assume, after hearing that behavior, they would have said, "Nah, he's down in the bottom for me. I don't want to be around a guy like that. I wouldn't feel safe in that environment or whatever." And that would have been home time for LeBron. So for some reason, they spared him another week, and maybe it gets dealt with next episode.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And speaking of that, what we see in the next episode, the highlights or the lowlights, so to speak, because I think that it appears that Mya is going to have something more to say to Laron, and this time she's gonna kind of give him a little bit of taste of his own medicine, I think. Did you see that?
Hmm. Yep,
Yeah,
I saw that. It
yeah.
looks like she is on his case.
She's
Next
on his
episode,
case.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I think Maya's lost respect for him to a degree after that
Absolutely.
interaction, and now she's being more vocal about whatever is gonna, she doesn't like about him, and that's gonna make it very hot in the kitchen for LaRon next episode. So yeah, it changes the complexion. It just shows you how a week in this show can change the dynamics of these relationships. One minute you think there's a good, strong connection there. You know, the next episode shows you, no, it's problematic and it probably won't work. So that's why we stay entertained. But I do have one question for you before we shimmy and shake.
Okay, yes, because I'm
Uh,
trying to get out of here. But go
so
ahead. Sure.
yeah, so do you see any similarities between how Patrice is moving with Alonso and how Chaz is moving with Vanessa?
I'm sorry. Say that again. Repeat that question
Do you
again, real
see
quick,
any
sir.
similarities with the
Hmm.
way Patrice is handling her connection with Alonso and Chaz is handling his connection with Vanessa?
Hmm. I think that at this point, it doesn't seem like Patrice, who has most of this season, has been into Alonso and his youthful energy and his playfulness. She's been okay with that. I think now it's maybe starting. It looks like it's starting to have worn thin with her, and she's looking at Chaz. I think she views Chaz as a more serious contender for her affections, and she's treating him with the respect that you would treat a man that is well established and well prepared to possibly get serious and maybe even marry. That's what I see. What do you see?
Well, what I see is Alonso has been riding for Patrice the whole season so far. He really likes her and has written her
Hmm.
love notes that she's kept in her bosom,
Yes, that was cute.
hired out a museum so that they can have an exclusive date in the museum. Uh, he's shown up to every date trying to be enthusiastic about a connection with her. I think he's been light-hearted, but yet shown that he's really interested in her. He has definitely not been a player and trying to mingle with the other ladies too tough. So he's locked in on Patrice. He's been intentional in his own way, from what I can see, and it's not good enough because evidently she has placed Chaz, who she only probably started talking on the phone with, from what we saw last episode when they swapped numbers or whatever, and she consoled him over him going through his uh, frustration with Vanessa and Rashina at the time. So it's a very, very late in the day new connection. So for Chaz to be considered, even after Alonso's put in so much effort, that's where I see the parallels because people are trying to say that Vanessa has shown up for Chaz the whole season, cut off her connections, much in the same way as Alonso has. He hasn't really mingled, nor has she.
Right.
But yet, the person that she wants at the end of the day is not giving her the same reciprocity back because now Chaz is like, well, Patrice has a more caring side. Vanessa's a bit more selfish, self centered, always talking about pick me or choose me above the others or make some type of declaration to make sure that everybody knows I'm your number one. And he's like, well, I have reservations about doing that. I still want to enjoy the process. And Patrice has come out of nowhere and completely muddied the waters. So yeah, I think there's a parallel between the two of them and how they've handled their connections. The intentional person is the person that they are actually not drawing closer towards. They're going towards
Hmm.
finding this new connection between each other instead of the person that's been riding for them the whole time.
Yeah. Well, but to be fair, and I know we only got a few more minutes, but to be fair, Chaz told us last week that he's only had three women pray for him, and Vanessa made. I'm
Hmm.
sorry, not Vanessa. Patrice. Patrice made the fourth. So I don't know. I'm getting the sense that that was something special for him. that there's a
I,
spiritual
I think that
component.
was huge for him.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like, it's considering there was not a connection beforehand, they haven't been intimate, they haven't been on dates or anything like that, from what we know. For someone to show that level of understanding, compassion, and pray for you and all that stuff, for someone who's not used to having that done,
Hmm.
that is huge. And that's why I think Patrice has skyrocketed onto his radar and completely pipped Vanessa at the finish line potentially, because really and truly, that could have been Vanessa if she was more understanding about the situation. But she's not, and that's not a knock on her. It's just that she's more focused on what she's looking for and what she's into, rather than how he's feeling in the process.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out more next week because I'm curious to see um what Mya is going to say to Laron, because I think he has really hurt and offended her. And I've been in that space myself as a woman, where you don't feel safe with a guy. You don't feel like he's treated you uh, appropriately because you've not done anything to this person. And then for them to just treat you this way and talk to you this way, or talk even about you this way to another woman. Like, why did he even feel comfortable to talk with someone who was familiar with her, that would go back and tell her what he said and what he called her?
Exactly,
So,
and in the manner he did it, like, so it
mhm,
wasn't like she went outside and said, "Hey, Mika, listen, man, I just saw Maya with another dude. Man, I don't know who that is. Do you think it's, someone serious? Do you think it's an ex-boyfriend? I don't know, man. Um, I'm trying not to be bummed out about it, but I don't want a confrontation."
mhm,
Even if he had gone to Mika like that, and Mika could have said, "Oh, well, nah, man, it's probably just someone that she'd met before, or let me find out and I'll come back and let you know."
mhm.
Like, but no, he went off. He just completely ticking time bomb and went off and done probably irreparable damage to the connection, because Maya said she does not, she's been in a situation like that before and she doesn't want to repeat that situation. So, she's definitely checking out of that
Yeah, as
connection,
she should.
as she should,
As
exactly
she
as she
should.
should,
Yeah,
because
because
that
once.
behavior is
Mhm,
deplorable.
mhm.
Uh, and like I said, you don't want to be in a situation where
You're alone
alcohol's
with
involved.
him.
Because, yeah, like, it's one thing to be with an insecure, possessive, jealous type of person. That's bad enough. But when they're drinking as well,
Mhm,
then they're not even in control of when those outbursts are going to come out. They're going to be more
mhm.
loose lipped, and it's just going to come out, uh, you know, at the drop of a hat, pretty much. Like, whenever they get in their feelings, they're going to do it. So it's not a good combination at all. All of those things that I just mentioned need to be worked on, in my opinion, before he can even get into a relationship. Because Maya, like you said, is an attractive enough lady to attract attention. She's definitely photogenic.
Mhm,
She definitely comes across as a warm personality, happy,
mhm.
smiley type of person. So in having a connection with someone like that, you have to have your stuff together. You
Yeah,
can't be insecure. You can't be jealous. You have to appreciate that just as you find her beautiful and attractive, other people may. But you
yeah.
need to feel um, happy and content
Trust.
within yourself
Right. And
that
trust.
yeah, exactly, and trust that your whatever you're doing is keeping her attracted to you.
Mhm.
So I
Wow. El Cid,
think
El
I,
Cid
I
took the
think you need
words
to
out of
work.
my mouth. Thank you. Thank you, El Cid. got him a nice, soft woman, a good woman, a beautiful woman, and couldn't even handle it.
Nope.
Couldn't even handle it.
Nope.
Mm.
Terrible.
Well, on that note, guys, I want to thank you for sticking around and hearing us all the way out to the end. Sorry we had to cut this a little short. We left out a little here and there, but we covered most of the points that were germane to this week's episode. All the things that we're thinking. Definitely go over and subscribe to my co-host JRXTV. Definitely stay tuned. Set your notifications for this channel because we will be bringing in some of the cast. And you'll be surprised who they are, who we'll be bringing in. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that. You definitely want to stay tuned for next week when we bring the recap next week. Okay. JR, you ready to shimmy and shake on out of here?
Yep. Let's shimmy and shake.
All right, let's go, guys. See you next week.